Hello and welcome to Newsnight. I am Ladi Akeredoluale. Thanks for joining us today. My guest says governors are not opposed to the use of direct primaries for election to political offices, but are rightly concerned about costs of implementing this new objective. My guest also says a more sober assessment needs to be undertaken on the issue of value-added tax VAT, its collection mechanism, as well as sharing formula. Newsnight talks to the governor of Nigeria's northwest state of Jigawa, Mohammed Badaru Abubakar. Your Excellency, thank you for your time. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for inviting us to Dutse.
Thank you very much.
Dutse is about the furthest you can come from Lagos. It's one end of the country to the other. And that's where I want to begin because developments are happening everywhere. In Jigawa, how difficult has it been to put up a hospitable environment, if we want to call it that, given all the challenges that the country is faced with at this time?
Well, first I have to thank my predecessors, from Samuni Turaki to Sule Lamido and myself. They have done wonderfully well in developing the infrastructure in the state, more especially the road network and the building and the capital that we have now. So I continued from where they stayed. I inherited a lot of ongoing projects, was about 130 billion, but 40 billion was paid by the previous administration, remaining about 90, which we continued and finished. And this really helped the state in all aspects of human development. For instance, in road, within the year, both completed and initiated projects. I did about 1,620 something kilometers as of today. And that helps. And that was why we were ranked #1 in road network in the country. So I cannot accept the credit alone because I have built on what has been done by the previous governments. And that's how government should be.
Your Excellency, there is a difficulty, a challenge, because of where Jigawa is, and the environment around it, shall we say, is not particularly hospitable. How difficult has it been to get industry to get going in this state?
Well, as you have seen, really, you have said, we are in a very difficult situation when it comes to industrializing the state. First of all, we are very close to Kano. That has all the necessary parameters for location of an industry, market, services, workers, and what have you. And when you are putting an industry, you will have to look at all this. So being close to Kano didn't give us any advantage. In fact, it's disadvantage. And the fact that you said we are far away, that also did not help. So to develop the economy here and to develop the industries, we have to start was what can we give that Kano and other states will not give, and use that as the springboard to start pushing for industries. We tried to check what crops can we produce and produce big, and that will have the value chain and the to use that to industrialize the state from the beginning. We discovered rice, so we invest heavily in the production of rice, which makes us today, as of last 2 years, #3 largest producer of rice. But I'm sure if they do the statistics now, will be 1 or 2. And that has attracted a lot of industries that are processing rice or in the rice value chain, starting from mini rice mills, mini parboiling that women do, to medium industries and to large rice mills in the state. That has helped. Then the second crop that we have, that we believe we have international competitive advantage of producing, is sesame seed. And that also we attracted a lot of investors. Jigawa remains the only state in this country that has a farm that is doing organic sesame for export. And we have also investment along that value chain in cleaning, packaging and delivery. So that is the style. We look at what we have and we invest in it. We have very nice granite tiles here. We attracted investors in granite polishing and marble production, and they produce, and that is what we do. We target what we believe we have competitive advantage and now go searching for the investor that will come and invest based on these figures. And I believe by the time we reach some peak, by the time we have enough industries, then we see other services will spring in. And even those industries that we have no much comparative advantage, they will come in. For instance, now, because of agriculture activity, they are putting a lot. We are working on providing a factory that will do sacks for the industries here. And because of the agriculture, we attracted 3 fertilizer processing plants, 2 blending, 1 complete processing. And that is the targeted investments that we attract. And we are on it. And we are beginning to see new Jigawa, like you have seen, coming up with industries and with job creation. And we created thousands and thousands of jobs in agriculture and agri-value chain over the last 6 years.
Your Excellency, you're an accountant, and I raise that because we come to the issue of internally generated revenue and how difficult it has been for many of your colleagues to raise it, especially at this time, given the COVID-19 pandemic, the drop in oil prices, which is Nigeria's mainstay, and then the question of taxation with so many people out of work. How have you met that challenge?
Well, first of all, the major target is the well-being and the income of our people. That's the major target, not the IGR for now. What is important is to create good life for our people, increase their investment, increase their wealth. So when you do that, automatically you are increasing your tax base, and then the tax issue will come in. You see, by all ranking in the last 5-6 years, we have been ranked among the poor states in the country, one among the 10 in the bottom. And we are not happy with that ranking. So that's why investment in human development is very key and very important for this government. And that we do. And in the process, naturally, you will be increasing your tax base and your tax revenue.
Let's come now to economic matters strictly. And in the case of Jigawa, like many of its counterparts, Jigawa carries quite a bit of a burden in terms of debt. In 2014, it was given a bailout. In 2016, it received another bailout. And then subsequently, it received Paris Club refunds, which were not a loan, but the first 2 were loans. And with dwindling revenue, how do you hope to repay all of this with your continuing recurrent expenditure?
Well, first of all, I think all the governors tried to look inward on their spendings and develop principle of value for money spending. You don't see wastages like you see before. You don't see governors going in a convoy now of 30, 40 vehicles. You see us mostly now with 3 or 4. Most of the governors have dropped those unnecessary expenditures to reduce cost of governance. That is the first step, to reduce cost of governance. And most of the governors have prioritized their employment into education, health, and necessary services that have direct impact to the people development. A lot are not employing except in education and in health these days. That also helps to reduce the burden. The expenditure pattern on even the so-called security votes that people are taking has dropped drastically. Some of us don't even have any security votes that people call security votes. We don't have some. So I believe we are doing our best to reduce the expenditure and direct it towards how it will benefit the common man in all our states. All the governors are aware of this. That is one. 2, we are pushing greatly on the zero oil initiative, trying to create more and more products, exportable products, that the government will generate more revenue. That is 2. 3, like you have said on the tax, there is competition now on tax. How do we now realize more tax so that the states can eventually be self-sustaining? So all this put together will help in reducing the burden of the loan that you have said. And again, the oil prices are coming up and down. If we have a boom or so in 1 or 2 years, that will help to wipe out those loans that we have seen as loans. And not all the money you counted are loans. Remember, the only loans are the bailout, the salary bailout that was given, and not all states collect salary bailout. Jigawa State, we did not collect salary bailout.
Why?
Because we have been paying salaries as and when due, and we had no issue, no arrears at that time. So there is no reason to collect. But we were all given 10 billion naira as development. At that time, it was difficult for the state to do any capital project. So there was a loan of 10 billion from the Federation. And there was also the budget support that is close to 18 billion that we borrowed. And that happens when oil prices to around 2016, 17 goes really down. And then we have some argumentation as loan. In the first instance was 1 billion every month. Then it drops when it improves. When situation improves, it drops to 800, then to 500. But I think in total close to 18 billion. That is a loan. The Paris Club is a refund. It's not a loan. And Jigawa got 43 billion, with some state getting 60, 70, 80. And we also get refund from the federal project done. Jigawa State got 10 billion for the airport that was built. And many other states get a lot more, with some states even getting 70, 73 billion as a refund for the job that is done to the Federation over the years that was not refunded for federal road, federal government infrastructure. So the loan is only the budget support and that 10 billion. And I don't think it is really difficult to repay. And recently they started deduction on the loan, but because some of the states cannot cope at this time, then they do it because the loan has to be paid. The time has to be paid, and if you didn't pay, your borrowing rating will go down. Right. So because of that reason, there was another loan of around 18 billion, and it will be paid in bits and pieces to supplement that other loan. So we cannot be in breach because of the first loan. So it's not a fresh loan. So the total exposure is about 18 billion plus 10, about 28, except those that are borrowed for the salary bailout.
It appears as if, shall we say, there's been some difficulty now with value-added tax or VAT. Some of the governors had said that there are problems with the mechanism of VAT itself. What's your own position?
Well, I think they are talking, and since matter is in court, it will be prejudice to really discuss it. I think that is the matter is in court. But among the governors, we are talking. It's not even issue of what is due to me or what is due to you. It is the issue of the collection and how it will affect the common man. For instance, when you take Cadbury, they produce Bombita. Their head office in Lagos. They pay VAT in Lagos. Major consumption is in the north. So, which means they will collect the VAT there, and here, if they sell Bombita in my state, I will collect also. So, which will raise the price if individual, and if they buy, they bring first to Kano. And from Kano, some neighboring state buy. Kano will charge. And we will take from Kano and bring to Jigawa. And from Jigawa and charge. And from Jigawa, some traders will take and take to Yobe. And also charge. So it's the issue of administration. It's the issue of the simplicity of administrating, but that was why the leaders do it the way that it's been done. And I think we are getting some clear understanding among ourselves that this is not really necessary. If some formula should be derived and changed, fine. That's the distribution formula. But the process of collection will be much more easier if we leave it with the Federal Board of Internal Revenue.
You've just pointed out that it's getting lost in the narrative because there's a difference between the mode of collection and the issue of distribution, and that's where the nub of the problem is. Could you explain that a bit further?
If you look at the distribution formula for all the VATs that Lagos is collecting, because all the banks' head office are there, all the major companies and producers' head office are there. They have branches here too. So if you now said, okay, VAT should be calculated based on where the actual spending happens to the consumer, then the story will be different. Is where the office is that pays tax, but the consumption is all over. So I think we have to look at that carefully, do a lot of calculation and see where we have to improve the sharing formula. We improve the sharing formula so that nobody will feel that he's surcharged or undercharged.
Some of your colleagues and others who have observed the national system have said that you, as governor of Jigawa State, have leveraged on your relationship with the president to draw more than your fair share of projects to Jigawa State. How do you respond to this accusation?
No, absolutely not. If you know President Muhammad Buhari, you should know he's a fair person. And he will do projects where it deserves. There are states that have benefited much more than I do from the federal government. Some of them not even APC states. He's a fair-minded. On the refund for the federal roads, the state that goes the highest refund is not even APC state. And from the Paris Club also. So I believe he's a fair person. He treats the states equally. Of course, it is a matter of packaging. If you package a proposal, send it, and never one time did I carry my project to President Muhammad Buhari and ask him to approve. Whatever the state wants, we pass through the channels. If it is Federal Ministry of Works, if it is the Federal Ministry of Water Resources, if it is Federal Ministry of Agriculture or wherever, we package what we need neatly with reason, cogent reason, and pass on there. And the ministry develop it and bring it to FEC for approval. So all the governors do the same. If you have issue that is bothering you, that is a federal government's investment that is needed there, you package it properly and very well. And certainly if you run it across the ministries, not one time have I taken for all these developments, have I taken a file or a project to Mr. President and asked him to approve. He will, I know, if you package it well and you do well and they have the money, he will do the right thing. You see, the three federal institutions that were given to Jigawa State, the first one was a balance that they need. And I know the ministry look at all the states around the Northwest and believe it has to come to Jigawa State based on merit, based on the decision of the Federal Ministry of Education. I didn't influence it, but I make a case for my state with reasons. And the other two higher institutions came in because there was legislation. There was, they passed through the House of Representatives, and there was recommendation from the House of Representatives, and the President agreed to put them there. So this is what happens with three institutions. And the two major roads that are being built, we have been asking for this road in Jigawa State for over 20, 25 years. With cogent reason why the road must be built. And two of the roads, Kobats, Kano and Jigawa, but they are always in Jigawa. And you see the corner Dimawa, the corner Dimawa, Kenya, Babara, Borbombutum border covers 3 states. Starts from Kano, comes into Jigawa, and ends in Katsina to the border of Niger. That roads, we have been begging for it for over the years, and President Muhammad Buhari graciously approved the construction and is going on now beautifully well. And the other one starts from Gaya. Gaya is Kano.
Yes.
Gaya to Jahun and Kaping Hausa. And that roads have been bad for so many years that we have been asking. And President Muhammad Buhari help us and approve that project based on merits, based on the situation of the matter.
Not your interpretation.
Yes, and the road you applied to come now was approved by the previous government, but work wasn't going on. Contractors were out of sight. That's the Kano Meduguri, large portion of it that you follow today in Jigawa State. President Muhammad Buhari agreed to complete all the ongoing projects in the country. And that was why this road has been completed to some extent. So it's not specially for me. It is what he do with all the other roads in the country. The other one here, from Shuarin to Konar Huguma, the dualization that passed through Duse, is also a project by President that was awarded, not by President Muhammad Buhari, but wasn't going on. But when he comes in, he pumps in enough money for the project to continue, and it's completed. President Muhammad Buhari inherited over 300 roads that were not completed and contractors were not on site. He mobilized contractors all back to site, not only Jigawa. When you talk about the investment done in Sulalamido University, it is being done in all the universities in Nigeria. He has supported us twice with special intervention to build the university, because we make it, we show the president that we are committed and we have invested heavily in it. We have continued with the project that we inherited from the previous government in the university, and we are doing very well, and we need some support. And when he see you trying, he will certainly support you. It's not only me, it's almost all the governors. The irrigation project that is being done is his pet project. Grow what we eat and eat what we grow. It's his slogan. And you know, President Muhammad Buhari was farming. So the irrigation project in the trimming that developed 6,000 hectares of gravity irrigation, is his pet project. And they are doing it across the country where they have projects for irrigation. And the Gari project is an inherited project. He started it when he's at PTF, and it was abandoned. And he completed it, 2,000 hectares of gravity irrigation. So all these projects have history. All these projects are being supported by President Muhammad Buhari because he believes that it's his duty to complete as long as the money is there, and it's not me alone. Check out how many dams and irrigation projects President Muhammad Buhari has done in this country. Why you did not complain about the Niger Bridge, or Kano, or Lagos Ibadan Road, or all the other roads that are being done in this country? Is only Jigawa that you are seeing. We have benefited tremendously, and we can only say thank you to Mr. President.
It would appear as if nothing happens in Nigeria, especially politically, without the knowledge and, more importantly, approval of the governors. So in the case of the Electoral Amendment Bill 2021, the governors appear to have been opposed to the part of direct primaries. And of course, the president has refused to assent to it. So I guess the governors got their way on that one. But is it true that the governors are opposed to direct primaries, do you think? And if so, why?
No governor is opposed. You see, this is, like you have said, misconception. The governors are certainly not averse to it. But we are in the driving seat on the economy of the country. We know what is happening. We know the money being spent in elections, and we know the situation of the treasury, and we know the situation of the country, and being NEC members. And we run our states and we see this cost coming and going. All the governors are saying, have we analyzed the cost? Have we analyzed the practicability of this? Let me give you an instance. In Jigawa State, we have over 800,000 APC members. Where do I do the direct primaries? Is it at the polling unit? If it is at the polling unit, we have over 4,000 polling units. So in Jigawa State alone, INEC have to employ more than 4,000 people to supervise that election and pay them. Police have to mobilize also, because there will be Ronco, typical to all primaries, there will be trouble, or other people, or otherwise people might be killed. You know how it is in some places. So INEC cost, police cost, civil defense, and whatever security agencies will do. Let's calculate that. How much will it be if we have to go by polling units? By 5 elections, 5 primaries for one party, and then for the number of parties in the country. Of course, some might choose to do it in the ward level, because in Jigawa or in APC states, most of APC states, it might be difficult to do it at the ward level. Because some ward, when you look at my polling units, most of the polling units have between 50 to 400 members. So a ward was 20 polling units and was an average of 200 members. We'll have 4,000 members. How do you now transport 4,000 members, bring them in one location, and do the primaries there 5 times? Of course, the party will spend money to bring them, but the logistics in managing 4,000 people in one place, and the rancor that will happen and the trouble that will happen. And in all the wards in the country, in Jigawa we have 287 wards. How practicable can that be? And what will be the cost? That is, even if you choose to do it at ward level, you cannot even decide to do it at the state level, because that will mean 10,000, 15,000 people. So this is the concern. We say, let's analyze it. Let's analyze the cost. Can the federal government afford this cost for INEC to supervise? If INEC did not supervise, who will authenticate if there's litigation? If you say you do not trust the party leadership to do the primaries and give the result, you want direct primaries, people will choose, which means you need an independent umpire to be sure that is done and get the result in case of litigation. So INEC has to be there in all the polling units or in all the wards. How much will be the cost per one party? Not talk of the number of parties. I lost count of the number of parties in the country. Maybe 16, 18 now with the delisting. Yes. How practicable, and all within a time frame provided by the Electoral Act. So this is a concern of the governors. We know how money is difficult to get. We know how much we spend in general election. The federal government spend on general election. And now we have to vote out that kind of money for primaries. Can the federal government be able to observe that? If they are, fine and good. What is the problem?
Would you agree when it is said that the governors have taken grip of the nation's politics, and the governors have an outsized influence on what goes on in the polity?
If the governors take grip of the country, they will even prepare the indirect, because nobody will be able to monitor these primaries in all the bushes and the town, or has the money to run this. Every governor has councillors, have polling unit agents, have people in each polling unit that can take care of this problem for you. He doesn't have to spend money. You have your councillors that are working for you that can supervise the Congress, the primaries. You have everybody in the network that you don't have to spend money. So those that are saying the governor will prepare indirect. It's easier if it is an issue of manipulation. It's easier to manipulate. Direct or indirect depends on the actors, the totality of the people. If we want to do it right, we do it right. If we don't want to do it right, there will always be breach in process if people are determined to breach a process. You know it. Because they are saying direct, it doesn't guarantee the common man will go on board there. We have seen direct election written in hotels and no election happen in the field. There is nothing we haven't seen. So the idea is to talk and talk sense into people, and let's start to do it right as a country. That is what is important. Whether you put direct or indirect, if people decide to breach, they will do. So it's not issue of governors having grip. That is the perception. That is the perception.
And some have
but let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. Roches Okorocha was a governor, and in fact is the chairman of Progressive Governors Forum.
Yes.
Did he produce a candidate in APC for the last election in APC? Did Amosun produce a candidate in APC? Governors have been gripped. Why? Why are we saying governors? Why are we not saying other leaders that are also powerful?
What?
So the issue is not governors. The issue is let us do it right, and we do it right. And you have seen who is complaining about the congresses that have gone parallel. It started with direct. The world congresses are being done direct. All the world congresses that we do, people are elected in their polling units or in their wards by direct primaries. So what you have as ward leaders now are a product of direct primaries. So if you are not able to say that is done correctly, why would you think primaries will not follow the same suit? And in Jigawa, we have any problem. All stakeholders are involved. Everybody is involved. We do it very well and transparently, okay. And sometimes we hear cries for those people that lose, even if they lose genuinely. Nobody wants to say, I lose this election or I lose this primary because my people don't want me. Some of these people might not even be able to go to the polling units or to go to the ward during the primaries. So it's not an issue of what governors are clear on this many times. That was why governors don't join issue with anybody. The question is, we have no problem with whatever mode of primaries you bring, but do the costing. Analyze. Here in Jigawa, if we are spending 10 naira, we do value for money. What will it do to the life of people? And that is how governance should be. When you have money issue, you weigh your priorities, knowing fully well that either direct or indirect, if people want to cheat, they will cheat.
It is said that the governors have decided that one of them will succeed President Muhammadu Buhari. Are you part of this agreement?
You see, this is the rumors, the noise going round. I don't know what governors have done to Nigerians. People will have to start trying this seat. Maybe we have to be giving this seat temporary governor for 1 week to people for them to realize the troubles that we have, so that they will understand the burden on the head of the governors. Everything that is not going correctly is the governors in this country, which is not true. We are doing our best, really, to position the country. We are doing our best to improve the economic development and the well-being of our people. What is happening in places is by far more than what the governors do. And because governors are high profile, that is why you hear their names. But there are a lot of corruption charges going on, corruption cases going on, that governors have nothing to do with it. Governors are a fraction of what is going on. And be sincere. Check from the person selling groundnut on the street to the top. Most of the time, 60–70% of the time, you will find out they want to make extra buck out of you. We have to change the morality. It is the system that aids corruption. It's the system that glorifies corruption, not only by the governors, but by many people. Federal government employees, state government employees, building houses, having houses, doing things that is not checked, and nobody is complaining. And when you look clearly, all the cases, all the corruption cases in the country, add them. How many percent is for governors? Less than 20. 80% is for other things. So, but because governors are high profile, governor, when they said they drag governor to EFCC, it's big news. When they drag a director, nobody said about it, including where snake eat money.
The National Convention of your party, the APC, is due next month. That's February 2022. And there are those who are saying that the president, for the first time, will not be on the ballot for the 2023 elections, and that it was he who was the glue holding the APC together, and that once he is no longer in the picture, so to speak, is every man for himself. Is that what you think will happen with the APC this year?
No, but that is his perception. That is his perception.
You don't have any such?
No. People group together because of a reason and form APC. President Muhammad Buhari became the presidential candidate and eventually the president. That same reason will make us stay together. That same reason. I know today President Muhammad Buhari directed what has to be done. Obasanjo was the same in PDP. When he left, did it crash? So if Buhari leaves, it won't crash. And Buhari will be with us. He's the leader of the party, and he will remain with the party. And for those people that believe Buhari will just go to Daura and sleep, they don't know him. He's patriotic enough to chart the course of this country. He came back into power and tried 3 or 4 times because of the nation, because of his patriotism, because he wants to see things change, and he has done remarkably well in doing so. And he will not fold his arm. For those of us that know him, he will not fold his arm to let what he built or he started to build scatter. No, no way. That the patriotism in him will not allow him to do that. So we still have a leader.
22 of your colleagues, well, 21 of them, but including you, 22 of the governors will be serving out their second term in this electoral circle. And therefore, as I've been told, many of them are looking towards the next political office to occupy and where they should be going to next. So I go back to that question about, should one of these 22 be the president, or should one of these two be selected by the party as the presidential candidate?
Every political situation in 2014 or 15, during the primaries in Lagos, it was the same scenario. Atiku was there, Buhari, Rochester, Okorocha, Konkoso. There was a lot of discussion that it will collapse or APC will not make it. But we come out clean from that convention, and all the presidential candidates supported Buhari at that election.
Because you wanted to win power. You were not the...
So now we wanted to retain power, because we have to retain power to continue the good job that President Muhammad Buhari started. It's more eminent now, really. At that time, we try, we get or we don't get. Now we have the power. And we have seen the damage caused by successive administration at the federal level. And Buhari started to fix it all. And we see the need to come together and bring out a good leader that will continue the job of what President Muhammad Buhari is doing. Now let me tell you, President Muhammad Buhari inherited a system where 24 or 26 states were not paying salaries for months together. Inherited a system with collapsing oil prices. Inherited a system that is going into recession. Inherited a system where dollar have started rising because our import bill is higher than the export bill occasioned by the falling oil prices. This is what he inherited. And our reserve, very, very low to go back to. The country was almost collapsing at end of 2015 towards beginning of 2016. You know, you have the figures. That was what he inherited. Correct nations that are dependent on oil always keep reserve knowing that they cannot depend on oil. Saudi Arabia has tons and tons of billions in reserve. So if oil prices, they have enough reserve, dollar reserve, to keep their currency in good shape, to maintain the stability of their currency. We don't have that luxury. Our past leaders did not do that. That was what President Muhammad Buhari inherited. And upon all that, and with the drop in revenue, with all this that happened, all the infrastructure he inherited, he continued with them. Most of them have finished. In fact, the ones I know, and started new ones. Big investment in railway, in water resources, in agriculture, huge. With all this crisis, we were able to show some examples of what has been done to keep the economy together. COVID-19 strike, at one time oil price was at the negative. We survived it. And we keep pushing. So do we allow all this progress to just go? No. No governor will wish his country to go down. And no governor will wish his state to go down after he leaves. Good governor, a good politician will always pray for a better successor who will do better than him and who will continue to chart the course for development of his people. Because we are in this for our people. We are in this for our people. You offer yourself to serve, to help your people. So we are in this for our people. So we wouldn't want to have succession that will draw us back or will not do well for our people. Look at the infrastructural development going on in this country. Look at the railway. Look at the massive social intervention. In Jigawa State alone, 164 households collect 5,000 naira from President Muhammad Buhari as social support. President Muhammad Buhari is feeding almost 1 million children that goes to primary school in my state. Not to talk of the end power, not to talk of the market money, trader money, not to talk of massive money being given as loan to agricultural sector to develop their agriculture. All these successes that I'm saying I have achieved in agriculture, if President Muhammad Buhari did not put in money to support the rice producers, the sesame producers, the wheat producers, where will I be?
Well, what is not in doubt is that you are definitely interested in who will succeed the president.
Certainly.
And that brings me then to the question about zoning and where the presidency should go to, what kind of candidate we should be looking for, and all of that. What do you make about the argument for zoning? Where should it go? Is it the South? If so, does the Southeast have a very valid argument to contest for the presidency in 2023?
Generally, I cannot comment because I'm supposed to lead the discussion on designing APC zoning. So I have to be an impartial judge The committee will sit and decide, and at that level, I will say what the committee said.
Let me bring you to something akin to security matters, the herders-farmers clashes and the divergent positions that have been taken by the North and the South. Down South, your colleagues there have talked about the anti-open grazing law. Many of them, in fact, have passed anti-open grazing laws in their states. But up North, even though it is agreed that open grazing is no longer feasible or viable, it appears as if the governors are taking a different tack. This herders-farmers issue has led to security challenges in the past. What do you make of all the arguments back and forth with the issue of the herders-farmers clashes and how to tackle that in a sustainable way?
Well, again, I have to thank my predecessors. They have started a program that has been fair to farmers and herders. In Jigawa, all successive governors managed to demarcate grazing reserves, cattle routes, and support the herders. That is why the herders-farmers clashes is at the minimum. And in the Northwest, that was what triggered this problem and eventually ended up in banditry and kidnapping. It started with herders, farmers' crisis, and cattle rustling. When the Fulani lose their cattle out because they were all rustled and nobody supported them and there is no way for them to get cattle, they became idle, have no life, have no livelihood, have no business. And that was the genesis of this banditry. And in Jigawa locally, the previous administrators managed to respect the feelings of the herders and managed to protect them, and managed to keep their grazing reserves and keep their cattle routes and even provide water in those grazing reserves, which I continued. Today, if we are doing empowerment to farmers, no matter how small, we try to look into herders also. And today we have what we call Farmers Headsmen Board, with committees in every ward and every local government at the state level. The farmers and the herders sit together, meet. If there is dispute, they settle at the ward level. If it is too much, to go to the local government and eventually to the state level. And we have farmers headsmen mobile court in case it has to go to court, the issue of herds getting into farmers' land. We try to resolve respectively. And we respect all the group, both the farmers and the herders. And that is why our herders here are comfortable with the situation, and that is why we do not experience, probably did not experience that much crisis between farmers and herders, which now turned to be banditry, kidnapping, and all other vices that we see now in the Northwest. And on the Boko Haram, you know it is disseminated. It's only in Borno now in few pockets of places. And President Buhari has done very, very, very well to contain Boko Haram in the last 6 years. Even his enemy will attest to this. If you are earning livelihood, and I just say stop without alternative as a citizen, how will you feel? How will you feel? Of course, there is tension for migration. But what I thought we should have done is to do the grazing reserves. I mean, do the ranching, allow for ranching, give alternatives, sit with the Fulanis and talk to them, provide alternative for them. They are citizens of this country. But no, because of popularity, issue, politics, no, anti-grazing, anti-grazing. What solution have we got? And this trade or this movement has been happening for many, many years. Of course, it escalates because of the problems that we see, farmers, herders, and the fact that the land resources is becoming smaller and smaller by day. I don't blame them. But what I'm saying, what will be the alternative? I just told you about cattle rustling. Most of the Fulani in the villages, their cattle were rustled. We did nothing. Those years back, you lose your whole livelihood. A leader should know there will be danger. All your cattle be rustled, and your livelihood depend on those cattle. And we just watch you. You come to justice, you don't get justice. You know you are breeding problem. And that was what exactly happened. Most of the Fulanis that are attacked now, if you hear the radios and what they are saying, is because they say they find no justice. Their cattle was rustled, nobody helps them, and no livelihood, no alternative life. So they are angry with you, they are angry with me, they are angry with everybody. That translates how they go to a town, burn all the town, kill people rapidly. It's not only kidnapping. Kidnapping can be attributed to, okay, making money. But the major issue is vendetta, they're angry.
So Sheikh Gumi is right that they need to be listened to. They need to be spoken to.
I don't know if we are not already too late on that. But this is something that intellectuals that have known about this kind of crisis will have to sit down and propose solution. But this was what happened. I was telling you what happens based on what I hear from the people. And this is the cause of the problem. And that is why I thank the successive leaders in Jigawa State. They did not allow this to happen. They respect and treated Fulani in Jigawa State. And I continue with that. And that is why, by special grace of God, we have less of these problems. Very, very less of these problems.
Your two predecessors that you've been thanking 2 or 3 times in this interview happen to be from PDP. You're in APC. Do you maintain a very good relationship with them?
No, but what is right is right. There might be some issue where I will criticize them. But what is right is right. If you do well, you do well. In security, in their treatment to Fulani, they have done well. In road networks in the country, in Jigawa State, they have done well. In infrastructure, they have done well. That is the truth. Being in PDP doesn't mean you are bad. Or being in APC doesn't mean I'm bad. But what you have done well, we have to say. If you didn't do anything, if you do not do well, we have to say. It's a fair game.
Governor Badaru Abubakar, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
That's today's program. Thanks for watching. Would love to hear from you on the conversation. Please get in touch. Our social media handles are on your screen. You can also listen to this and previous episodes of the program via our podcast. Visit our website, channelstv.com/podcast to get started. I am Ladi Akeredoluale. Goodbye.